Hi, my name is Scott McGuirk, and I'm a screenwriter. Thanks. Perfect. I'm sure this is going to be everyone's answer. I was always interested in writing. I was always a strong writer growing up. I always wanted to do something with writing because I knew I had talent. Growing up, everyone at school was always like, oh, it's so hard to be a writer. You'll never find jobs. You'll never make money, blah, blah, blah. So I was always thrown off course by that. And so I actually, I wasn't pursuing writing out of school. I went to business school. I did all this other stuff. And eventually writing just came back to me because I was obviously it was something I loved. I wouldn't say that it was always my goal, but I do feel in the grand tapestry of my life, that's where my life was always heading. As you go on in life, it's hard to kind of push away the creative forces that are pulling you to them. I realized I can't not do what I was born to do. So I've written for a bunch of kids TV shows, and there was one I was heavily involved in that I was a script coordinator for it, but I also had a lot to do with the creative development of the series. It was called Kingdom Force. It's on CBC Kids. It was kind of like Transformers meets Paw Patrol meets Power Rangers. One of the episodes I wrote for that was called Moustivus, and it was about a bunch of cats enjoying a festival about chasing mice, which was originally called Fishtivus because fish is the funniest animal you could have in a cartoon, but it got changed through the creative process because that's just what happens. And I just think that the jokes landed so well in most of it. So that would be my favorite produced script that I've done so far. There was a time when I would just dive in. I'd be like, well, let's just go and see how this goes. And I mean, that's fine. But then I'm always okay, now I'm on page 22 for an 11-minute show. I was okay, let's cut everything, right? For me, when you're writing something, it's all about pacing. So whenever I start, especially for kids content, where a lot of the scripts are very short. So it's 11 minutes or kind of it's my max usually. And sometimes you even have to write a 2 or 3 minute script. And you want to go through the entire arc of a storytelling procedure. And 3 or 4 pages, it's hard to do that. And so with an 11-minute, for example, what I'll do is I will right away, I'll just beat sheet kind of what's happening on this page, what's happening this page, where's my inciting incident, where's my plot point changes, and just know kind of every page has to add value of some sort. And so if your page isn't adding value, then you just got to cut it. Then you get to the fun stuff of adding the dialogue, the jokes, the action. So through my career, that's how I've evolved so far. Hardest part is killing the jokes. The hardest part is when the notes come back and they're saying, haha, that's funny, but it's too adult, so cut it. I'll save it for later. And so I have this entire tab of just jokes that were cut, but put them somewhere else if you ever possibly can. Or haha, that's funny, but it's taking too much time to get to the next scene, so cut this. I was that's the hardest part. You had to approach any kind of notes with an open mind. This is the industry, and this is how you do it. And then I always just say, I take my babies and I just save them for later. I don't kill them, I just save them for later. And I know that I'll be using them at some other point and save it for later for a different script. I will say, so I'm a big comic book geek, and growing up, the X-Men animated series really shaped me as a kid because I felt that was the pinnacle of kids TV series because it featured characters that really didn't belittle, didn't talk down to kids. There was lots of big words that as a kid I didn't understand, but I wasn't drawn away from it. And I was oh, that's kind of the pinnacle of what I would want to create for a kid, a show that just treats them like adults in a way that it respects them without kind of talking down to them. If I ever had the chance, the X-Men reboot would be I would say the holy grail of everything that I could work towards in terms of just full cycling my entire life and career, really. For me, it's all about the journey. It's not so much about the destination. I just like creating the content that kids can enjoy, that people think is funny, that I enjoy is really kind of the key as well. I don't like writing for shows that I'm not into, that I think are kind of lame. I want to be very proud of every single script that I write. And for me, that's much more fulfilling than just having one amazing script and then a bunch of duds. I just having, I kind of really put everything into everything I produce and everything I create, because if my name's going to be attached to it, I want to be proud of every single thing that I have out there. So for me, it's really mostly about having kind of a fulfilled body of work is what my goal is here. And I like it being kind of a diverse portfolio as well. So I've done cartoons, I've done like puppet shows, I've done live action stuff. So I like kind of having that versatility just to say, oh, I've created a bunch of different shows and a bunch of different mediums, and I'm really proud of all of it. So some of it is like just straight up dialogue, some of it is like music, some of it is just kind of is the spectrum. And for me, that's what my big goal and what my destiny, what my journey is all about, is just having a fulfilling body of work that I'm proud of and that everybody else likes too. My favorite movie ever, Pee-wee's Big Adventure. Like, without a doubt, I just think it's so genius. I think the writing is fantastic. I think the storyline makes complete sense in a nonsensical way. It's definitely, again, like I'm a product of kind of what I was exposed to growing up, and that was one of my favorite movies ever. And I mean, it stands the test of time, as you ask me. So if I can't write for X-Men, then I'm going to want to write for Pee Wee Herman at some point in my life.